Heraus noch. Heraus noch. Von dieser Seite geht's weg. Wir haben's gleich.
These men are digging up a small square in the sidewalk in front of 27 Hallerstrasse in Nuremberg, Germany, where they will place a Stolpersteine, a stumbling block, a 4 by 4-inch stone with a brass plaque fitted flat into the pavement to commemorate my grandparents, Hugo and Clemy Mosbacher, and Hugo's sister, Frieda Roederer. The stumblestones tell the casual walker that in this building, my grandparents and Frieda lived as civilized people till the Nazis forced them to a Jew house and ultimately to their murder in Auschwitz. Giving names back to the dead is a way of keeping them alive. A Stolperstein would symbolically return them to their neighborhood so many years after being torn away from their daily lives. I am Tony Baczewski. My wife, Judy Vasos, and I, friends and passerbys, are gathered here to lay these stumbling stones.
Ich habe also Knieschoner einfach mal ein bisschen locker machen.
They were very warm and welcoming people. And Clemy was a great cook, so I'm sure that helped. And Hugo was, he had a very quick wit and was very kind and patient and loving. And people just were drawn to him. They just loved Clemy and Hugo. So their life was very full and rich, and they intended to live that way in Germany for a long time. And their roots go back to the 17th century of Mosbachers, so they've just been around a long, they were around a long time. But they were moved from here to something called a Jew house. They put the Jews in crowded conditions. They were like little mini ghettos. And they lived, I don't know how many people were in a very small space on Stolpersteine. And they were going to wait for their quota number to come up in Germany. But things like that, like being moved to that small place, and other things happened. And they got very afraid to stay in Nuremberg because of what the Nazis were doing to Jews. So they fled. They didn't flee. They went to Amsterdam with the idea that they would go to the United States from there. And the plan was to meet their daughter, Tony's mother. She had gone to England. I know this is confusing, to London, because she was young enough to work. Anyway, it never happened. The reunion never happened. They had tickets to sail on a ship to New York for May 11th of 1940. And the Nazis invaded the Netherlands on May 10th, 1940. So by one day, it changed their whole lives. The Nazis were there. They took control of the Netherlands. All exit visas were canceled. And they were basically trapped in Amsterdam for 3 years.
ועלמה יברך ירוסי וימליך מלכוסי וחייכון יומכון חיי תכל בית ישראל תגלות ובזמן קריב ויברו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיו יתברך וישבח ויספר וישמח ויסנשא ויסדר ויסעלה ויסעלל שמי דקודשו וריף ואילו ויתעול ושפקדו בנפש תעבירון בעלמו ויברו אמן.
Today is the first time I have referred to my grandparents, Hugo and Clemy Mosbacher, as my grandparents, Before today, I would say Hugo and Clemy were my mother's parents. My brother Steve and I thought that grandparents were for other people. So in a sense, this is a homecoming, a wonderful occasion, sad, but remembering these 3 German Jewish citizens. Hugo, Clemy, and Frieda were German citizens who felt German. My grandfather Hugo was in World War I on the German side. They were both Jews and Germans. My mother was lucky. She was young and employable and went to England. From England to New York, where she met my father, Alexander Baczewski, a Viennese Jew who was an atheist. My mother was troubled by this, as she came from an Orthodox Jewish family. She wrote her parents, who had fled from Nuremberg to Amsterdam, that she wanted to marry Alexander, but he was an atheist. Her father Hugo wrote back that as long as Alexander was a good man, Clemy and Hugo gave their blessings to this union. I think this is so wise, so clear, and so tolerant. I am grateful to the people of Nuremberg, once a center of Nazi activity, the most virulent anti-Semitic place in Germany. They have changed and welcome the placing of these Stolpersteiners. My cousin Ruth White, granddaughter of Frieda Roederer, wrote, "May these stones remind us of the evil engendered by prejudice and hate, and may they serve to awaken us the compassion that views every life as a precious gift to be nurtured and protected by all."